What's up, howdy guys? My name is Brent, and I am the Fallible Man, and welcome to the Fallible Man Podcast, your home for all things man, husband, and father. We provide content to help men become the men they want to be. I'm not perfect, I don't have all the answers, but I'm on a journey just like you, and maybe we can help each other, guys. Hey, Merry Christmas if you're joining us for the special edition podcast. This is our Christmas episode. I'm still relatively new to this podcasting thing, so I'm really, getting it down. But I wanted to do a Christmas episode. This is separate from my normal show, and I hope you guys enjoy it. And on today, we're going to talk about two very different conversations you can have this year at your Christmas parties, or your New Year's party, or your company party, whatever you're going to do, right? This is the time of year when we're talking about parties where we get together with people we don't always see. And I'm doing this show based on an article I read every single year. This show was inspired by an article I read every year, and it's helped me stay focused on where I am and where I'm going and who I want to be. I hope you understand. I wanted to share with this special episode with you guys because it really has affected me very profoundly over the years. And so I hope you enjoy the show. We're going to roll to our intro. Guys, stay with us and enjoy the show. Merry Christmas. We'll be back with you in a second.
This is the Fallible Man Podcast, your home for everything man, husband, and father. Here is your host, the Fallible Man, Brent Dowling.
Welcome back, guys. Hey, if you're joining us for the first time or if you've never been with us before, go pause the show for a second, get a cup of coffee, get whatever you drink. Hey, maybe it's later where you are, grab a beer or whatever you like to drink. I've got my cup of coffee. If you're a regular, you know I can't get through a show without my coffee, so grab whatever you need, guys, and let's get into it. Now, this is going to be a very different kind of show than our normal podcast just because we're going to approach the way we do the show differently a little bit. Now, we've all heard of the old Cherokee tale of two wolves. If you haven't, let me sum it up for you really quick. A grandfather explains to his grandson that there are two wolves inside of each one of us. One good, one evil. They are constantly at war with each other for control of you. Well, the boy asks his grandfather, which one wins? And the grandfather very simply says, whichever one you feed is the one that will win. Now, the concept of duality is not a common theme in nature, mythology, or even in philosophy, right? Most of us are familiar with the yin-yang symbol. If you're listening to my podcast, then you're probably pretty set on the concept of there's generally a male and a female of every species, right? Two halves of one whole. Good versus evil, right? I mean, this is echoed through all of classic literature and movies, right? It's why there's a light side and the dark side of the Force. Hey, for all my Star Wars people. It's why that most stories have a good guy and a bad guy. We like this concept of duality. So this isn't very unusual. And it applies to way more than people think. I know this seems weird as a Christmas show, but stick with me, I promise. It's going to get interesting. So here's how we're going to talk about this concept. We're going to talk about it as, since this is the time of year when people gather, we're going to kind of tell a story. I'm going to share a story. It is made up. I have not had this conversation with anybody, but it is based on an article I read every single year. So now I know we're in the year of coronavirus and COVID-19, right? So maybe you're not doing the Christmas gatherings like you normally would. And, I really pray for each of us that we can get back to that normalcy, guys. And don't accept this nonsense as normalcy. This new, I hate the whole new normal line. That's a bunch of crap. Maybe this year is going to be a little different, but this is the time of year that we generally get together with churches and office parties and extended family and different clubs and Well, when you go into that party, one of the things about those parties is you run into people you haven't seen for a long time, and it gives you an interesting perspective on yourself, because rarely do you get to see yourself through other people's eyes. So, I'm going to run through a conversation, and because I'm only me, I'm going to play both sides of the conversation. So yeah, I know, kind of lame. I'll get better equipment, and eventually maybe I'll have a co-host or guest more often than the ones I've had. But this is how the conversation or the scenario goes, okay? Now, it's one conversation with two very different people. Here's the scenario. So I see John coming towards me. John's a pretty average guy who, like most people, have gained some weight over the years. He has a drink in one hand and is hurriedly finishing some party snacks that he had picked up as he walks over. By the smell off his clothes, I can tell he came from work and, probably already has a little more Christmas cheer in him than maybe he should for this time in the evening. And this is how the conversation goes. I'm like, "Hey, John, how's it going?" as I reach out to shake his hand. "How have you been? I haven't seen you much this year. Catch me up. What's going on?" Well, John then proceeds to tell me about how much he hates his job and how unappreciated he is there at work. And I can see by the look on his face when I ask about where his wife and kids are tonight that things are probably not great on the home front either. He makes a polite, dismissive excuse as to why they couldn't be there. You can tell he's probably run the answer a few times tonight already. He's been asked about this, so he's getting good at the story at this point. As he continues to talk, he reaches over for his vape pen, then makes an excuse about how he's trying to quit smoking. Well, now by the smell on his clothes, I can tell he hasn't been really successful at quitting smoking yet. And as a former smoker, I understand. I used to smoke for years, and so I understand how difficult that is. So over the course of the talk for a few minutes, John's telling me it's been a pretty decent year. Okay, that's great. I ask him about, anything new going on, what he's doing, what's different. And he says that, he doesn't have anything or any time for new stuff, really. He's been so busy as usual and just, same old, right? Same year, same story, same gig. Nothing's changed. John points out that I look like I've lost a little bit of weight and my beard is longer. Then he proceeds to ask me about my year. Well, I have in fact lost a little bit of weight, John. I've been working on it, trying to clean up my eating for a while now, trying to make my health a little bit better of a priority. And he chuckles and tells me, he's like, "Yeah, I tried that once. There just isn't time for that when you have as many responsibilities like he does. I'll see eventually when I catch up, Talking down to me a little bit, but okay. I'm not insecure, so that doesn't bother me. But what else have you been up to other than wasting your time trying to get in healthier shape?" Well, that kind of irks me a little bit because I don't see that as a waste of my time. So my story goes something like this. "Well, John, I've lost about 40 pounds, actually. I made health a real priority this year. I learned some new skills. I learned something about multimedia marketing and social media marketing. And I started a side business while I was at it. I didn't have much of a financial background, so I spent some time really bogging down into, I think bogging down is probably the wrong word, but I spent some time really digging into finances and money to understand that, because it was a weak point for me. So I've worked on that because you have to understand some of that stuff to start a business. Along the way, I started investing because I realized that my retirement wasn't where I wanted to be and I didn't want to work the rest of my life. I taught my children about money and actually got them interested in learning about money and business. Oh, I got a raise at work. And I helped my children start their first business. I'm really excited about that. They're doing amazing things, and I'm so excited to see their creativity come out and express itself in a productive way that can help them eventually grow into something more. I did some volunteer work, and I trained some people who were struggling with their work or with their weight. I trained some other people who were struggling with their weight along the way because, well, I mean, we all need help, and I may not be an expert yet, but I've learned some things that this person may not have known, so I helped them along the way because that's what you should be doing. And I did all this while getting out of bed at 4 o'clock in the morning on the daily because nobody has enough time, so I made time in my life to do all these things. Well, John's response to me was more of an uncomfortable joke than anything. He says, well, he told me, he said, wow, well, maybe I should come train with you. I said, okay, John, that'd be awesome. In fact, I would love to train with you. So I'll be at this gym at 4:30 tomorrow morning. Love to have you there. Can't wait to get started with you. And he says, well, isn't tomorrow morning Christmas? Well, yeah, tomorrow morning is Christmas. And I'll be at the gym at 4:30. That's still lots of time. I'll see you there. Merry Christmas, John. I'll see you in the morning. Well, he kind of mumbles, yeah, that sounds like a plan, and walks away. Now, if you can follow that totally screwy conversation, we'll break from the story. If you can follow that totally screwy conversation, then maybe you've had conversations like that. I won't be seeing John at 4:30 in the morning. All right, I changed some names, and I haven't had this exact conversation, but I've had pretty similar conversations to this, to be honest. I have conversations with people I know all the time about what I'm trying to do in my business and trying to grow my business. And I have people questioning my financial investments who don't do any financial investing on their own. You find out really quickly that as you try and improve yourself, people who don't tend to weigh down. In this story situation, I'll likely see John next year. Same bat time, same bat channel. Batman. And he'll have probably the same story. He might be divorced by then. It didn't look like it was going well for his home life. But I'll still be moving forward, and I'll have even more to tell John next year. Now we're going to roll into our sponsor, and then we'll pick this up.
Today's episode brought to you by thefallibleman.com. That's right, it's us. Head over to www.thefallibleman.com and check out our blog, updated twice a week with new content and links to all of our social media offerings. Tag or search us at The Fallible Man or at Fallible Man on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and other social medias for daily content. While you're there, check out our attitude swag, shirts, cups, stickers, and more. Again, that's www.thefallibleman.com.
The moral of the story is this, is the big point, the big takeaway. The only question you really have to ask yourself is this. What side of this conversation do you want to be on? Do you want to be John? Do you want to be me? Hopefully you want to be yourself, but, for giggles, let's play my game for a few minutes, okay? You're listening to the podcast anyways. Play my game for a minute, guys, and, who do you want to be in this conversation? That's the only question you really even have to ask. What side of this conversation do I want to be on? The two wolves lessons applies to any constraint of duality that you want to apply to it. Okay? Now, I'm not trying to reduce all of life's simple choices. I'm not trying to reduce all of life to simple choices. where it's black and white, where it's one or the other. But I would suggest that there are a lot of things in life that are exactly that, and we just complicate it to make it harder. If we change our perspective on it and decide that it's more complicated than that, then we are setting ourselves up for the possibility of failing at it. Right? If it's hard, then it's okay if I fail. If it's hard, it leaves me an out. Right? You caught the last 2 episodes, you heard me talking about planned obsolescence, and that's exactly what this is at this point. If you add it more complications and more technicalities, then it's easier to let yourself off the hook. But a lot of life really is as simple. Now, let's play a game for a minute. All right, let's try this and see how that works out. A couple simple questions, right? Weight loss. Do you need to lose weight to be healthier? Yes or no? I can already hear the excuses coming through the ether, guys, of, well, yeah, but, and play my game. Yes or no? Would it benefit you to learn a new skill of some kind? Yes or no? Would it benefit you to understand and control your finances better? Yes or no? Which is it? Would it benefit your life to be a better parent if you're already a parent? Yes or no? Play my game, guys. You're putting up with a podcast this long. Would it be beneficial to your life for you not to change your spouse, but for you to be a better spouse? Yes or no? Last one. Would it benefit your life to make more money than you currently do? Yes or no? Now, these are all yes or no answers, right? Yeah, they are. I asked pretty straightforward, black and white, yes or no kind of questions, because yes or no is what it really comes down to. Things are pretty clear cut. In fact, if you said no to any of those questions, the only one I can think of, in fact, honestly, out of those questions, because it was kind of, I probably trapped you a little bit with that one. Out of those 6 questions, the only one that anyone probably could have said no to is the weight loss question, because there are some people who maintain a healthy body fat level. Not everybody struggles with weight, and I'm glad for those who don't, because no one should have to struggle with that. I wish there was an easy button for that, but there's not. But out of 6 questions, guys, that's the only one you could have possibly said no to. Anybody with any kind of intelligence should have said yes to all of those questions. Now, I told you on that first one alone, I could hear the excuses flying through the ether at me. But they're all pretty solid. Now, you can make excuses about why you can't do them. You can add all kinds of ands, ifs, and buts to any of those to give yourself an out. You absolutely can. And that's feeding the bad wolf. Okay? The more excuses you give yourself, the more outs you give yourself, you're just feeding the evil wolf, guys. It really is simple. If you want to be on the more positive side of the conversation we had at the beginning of the podcast, then it's very simple what you need to do. You have to take out the excuses and just answer the base question. Yes, it would benefit me to learn a new skill. Don't make an excuse. Instead of making an excuse, you have to start choosing actions to fix those problems. We all know how those questions need to be answered. Most people will not actually follow through on achieving any of those things. If you caught the episode of the podcast earlier this week, it is all about New Year's resolutions and being successful at New Year's resolutions. But I don't want you to start New Year's resolutions, guys. You don't need to set a time or a date to start something. To achieve a goal, maybe. New Year's resolution to achieve a goal is probably a date to achieve a goal by. Yeah, that makes it more measurable, but you don't need to set a date to start a new thing, to start making yourself better. Most people let the fear of failure freeze them in place and stop before they ever start, and they're done before it ever starts off. If you caught their last show, horrifying statistic, most New Year's resolutions, 80% fail totally. 12% only partially succeed. Only 8% are actually even reached. Okay? Most people fall incredibly short on it. But most of them are unsuccessful because they've accepted failure before they even started, guys. They planned for it. Success starts with action. By trying, you're more successful than the average person. You also learn and refine your process by trying and coming short, because you're going to fall short several times along the path. You only fail if you stop trying. If you come up short a few times, that's going to happen, but you only fail if you stop trying. You're still doing better off than John during your next catch-up conversation if you tried to do something and didn't hit your goals. Okay? Action, choosing to do something, even if you come short, is still more successful than just not doing it. Now, John will probably think you're insane for even trying, but that's the kind of person he is. But you're not that kind of person. You wouldn't be listening to my podcast if you're that kind of person, okay? Why do you care what somebody who is that kind of person even thinks? Why are you afraid of their judgment? John didn't do anything to improve his life this year. You are choosing to do something to improve your life, which is amazing. And I applaud that, and you should be just proud of yourself. Okay, you are more successful falling short a couple times and just getting back up than most people ever will be. So let John go back to his life. Let him be the same or worse off next year. But you keep moving forward, guys. I want you to succeed. Little consistent victories compound into great big success. You're taking steps every day. The fact that you're listening to my podcast means you're trying to take steps every day to improve yourself. Next year, maybe this year is too late for you to have this great conversation, but next year, or even this year, if you can get it in, be on that side of the conversation, okay? Feed the good dog that makes your life better. Don't lose faith in yourself. Don't give up. Don't quit. Don't give yourself excuses. Okay? I hear excuses all the time. Don't tell me why you can't do something. Okay? That's the wrong focus. Come to me with a plan to fix problems, not come to me with problems. Okay, guys? Be that person who goes, okay, well, it would benefit me to be a better spouse this year. So I'm going to do A, B, C, D, E, and F this year to help me be a better spouse. That's the direction we want to go, guys. Don't come with all the reasons why you can't be a better spouse. Okay? And don't try and fix your spouse. Fix yourself. It's amazing the reaction that will have on your spouse if you actually put into yourself. Guys, here at the Fallible Man, we are all about being a little better every single day. Be proud of your journey. We hope and pray that every year you have a great deal to share with the naysayers and the cowards when you go to these parties, guys. Celebrate you. Don't be obnoxious about it, but celebrate your accomplishments. In our last show for the New Year's resolution thing, we talked about small, measurable steps that add up to bigger accomplishments. Each one is worth celebrating and enjoying, but just keep moving forward. Don't be cruel to people who don't try. You either get it or you don't. You want to improve or you don't. Lack of attempts, lack of trying to get better is settling with just being the same. Don't be cruel to those people. Understand there are a lot more of them than there are people who are trying to make themselves better. Do the work. Be the person every year who has those kind of stories, who can tell, oh man, I did this year and I did this and I got to take the family for this vacation and I increased my portfolio because I took the time to understand investing my own 401k and I grew a side hustle and I spent more time with my kids. Be that person, okay? Be the person who can. Be the person who always comes up with a solution. And you will be happier as an individual. Guys, this is going to be our last episode of the season. Okay, we're going to take off next week. Although on YouTube, this will be next week. But if you're listening on the podcast, this will be our last show for the season or for the year. We'll be back in January. Same schedule. Podcast on Wednesdays. YouTube videos on Tuesdays. Guys, from all of us at The Fallible Man, and you only ever see me on these, but my wife does a lot of my editing. My kids are so supportive, and so is the rest of my family. I have lots of friends who try and give me input, even some of the shows and some of the shirts we come up with. I just released a shirt today on my Off Brand TFM Novelties.redbubble.com. It's TFM-novelties.redbubble.com. That was inspired from my father-in-law. Guys, there are a lot of people contributing to this, and from all of us, everybody behind the scenes, everybody who inspires me, and all of you guys, thank you so much for the inspiration you bring to my life and the motivation that you provide to me every single day. Guys, from all of us at The Fallible Man, our big family to yours, Merry Christmas. Have a happy new year. We pray and hope that your year next year will find you being better every single day. May God bless you and your loved ones. And guys, for the last time this year, be better tomorrow because of what you do today. Merry Christmas.
This has been the Fallible Man Podcast, your home for everything man, husband, and father. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a show. Head over to www.thefallibleman.com for more content and get your own Fallible Man gear.